getting over your fear of public speaking, which is such a big topic for people, given that it is one of people's greatest fears. And, you know, when you watch people, when you ask them to do a public speech and they clam up and their stomach gets tight and the anxiety shows up for them, and the fear that sits around public speaking and being judged is something I'd love to help you with today. And so getting over the fear of public speaking really is about behavior modification. So it's about emotional management and behavior modification. So there's this real process that you can go through, which will really help you alleviate a lot of that fear and help you get into the right headspace by the way that you behave prior to standing up on stage. And today I'm going to talk you through a 5-stage process of what that looks like. Now, from a behavior perspective, one of the things that you can do, one of the things that people tend not to do, is prepare enough before they get up to speak. So they get up, or they might wing it, or they might not do the prep work. So I'm going to encourage everyone out there that before you get up and do a public speech, before you get up and present to someone, that you take the time, you make the effort, that you realize just how responsible a role public speaking is, so that you prepare yourself accordingly. Now, how do you do that? Well, you know your material. Could you do your presentation without PowerPoint? Could you say it without having to point to a slideshow? Because remember, the slideshow is not for you as a presenter, it's for the audience. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the 5-stage process just so that you can see what it looks like as I'm talking you through it. And the first thing is preparation. And I want you to be thinking about doing this a week out. This is a behavior mod shift. This is really around changing your mindset just to how important preparation is, so that a week out you're ready to go. You could do the presentation a week out. Now, this is presuming that you've got a week's worth of prep or 2 weeks worth of prep, so that you've got some time to prepare it and get ready and prepare yourself physically and, I guess, visual aidly and all those other things that you need to get right before you talk. Now, practice, vision, breathe, and focus. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to come back to these things now. And I want to tell you that before you even stand in front of someone, so a day out, I want you to not only prep this, I would love you to have prepared it. And what I mean, and practiced it. What I mean by that is practice it so well. So a video is a good place to practice, so you can actually look at yourself on video. Use a mirror, use a loved one. Now, when you're practicing public speaking, it's so important to understand what it is that you want to convey, what you want to look like, what your body language is saying about you. And presenting on a video is so much different to presenting live, because on live you can actually get some feedback and some visual cues. Now, from a behavior mod perspective, remember the antecedent, which is the driver of a fear response or a driver of certain types of behavior, which will show up in, so the fear response will cause you to physiologically shut down mentally. It'll cause your breathing to actually speed up or slow down, depending on how you respond. Your heart rate will definitely speed up. Now, by practicing public speaking and practicing your talk, you'll know exactly what you're going to look and sound like, so you can modify that if you need to. See, the more confidence that you have when you stand up to speak, the better you're going to deliver your message. The more you know your material, the more you know what you sound like, the more you know what people are going to think, really. And that's what you want to do. You want to put yourself in the heads and the hearts of your audience, because one of the things that people fear the most, is being judged. What do they think of me? And what if I get it wrong? Now, the next part of the process of setting yourself up for success and modifying your behavior and your thought process, so that when you're ready to go and ready to do this public speech, you're actually on the ball and you're ready to deliver a message that's powerful. The next thing is to vision it. Now, what I mean by vision it is this. Most people, when they're thinking about public speaking, the reason that fear shows up, and this is probably the most important behavior mod tip that I can give you from a public speaking perspective, and it's this. Most people always think about what can go wrong. Most people are worried about failing. They're worried about not being able to ask questions. They're worried about being judged. All of those things are going on in here at the same time. Here's the thought, and this is a skill set that is learnable. Reframing. What do I mean by reframing? Put a positive spin on it. Instead of what can go wrong, what about what can go right? Now, the way you in public speaking think about what can go right is that you actually cast your mind forward. So the mind's a powerful thing. And so what we want to do is we want to envision ourselves being successful. So that's a skill. That's a behavior where you stop yourself and go, now, what am I going to feel like at the end of the presentation? There's a thought. Envision yourself finishing strong with purpose and with passion and with great interaction. So vision yourself feeling good about the talk out into the future at the end of the talk, not at the start. Envision yourself at the end of your session having gone well, having not been judged, having answered all the questions that you need to. Reframe your mindset from what can go wrong to what can go right. And it's that vision. And when I say vision, I mean clearly visualize it. Understand where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing, whether it's, elbow bumping because it's COVID of people on the way out of the room. Envision all of that when you can. And it's the best bit of advice I ever got around public speaking was envision what it's going to be like when you do a great session. Now, the last two things, and these are really, really specific behavior changes that I'd love you to be thinking about if you're going to get up and do a talk. A minute out, a minute before you're about to start talking, breathe, oxygenate yourself, oxygenate your body and your brain. Your brain's the biggest user of oxygen in your body. And if your brain's not oxygenated, you won't think clearly. It's really simple. So what I'd love you to be thinking about is before you go on to speak, actually oxygenating and thinking clearly. And you'll probably feel a bit more relaxed too, because oxygenation actually brings your heart rate down and brings your anxiety down. And you actually might even feel really relaxed, which is okay too, because you'll think clearly if your anxiety levels aren't elevated. There's this optimum level of stress that we work best at. And breathing helps us to maintain that optimum levels of stress. So breathing into your tongue. You've got to look a bit fat when you're breathing properly, believe it or not. It's not into your lungs, it's actually into your tummy if you ask any of the yogis out there. And then the last one is focus. So this is a second out. So you're about to go on stage, you've just been introduced, you're about to go and talk, and you're about to present. What will your opening be? So instead of focusing on your audience and what can go wrong or what they're thinking or what's happening out there in the minds of the audience, focus on what you can control. So from a behavior perspective, focus on what it is you're going to say. Focus on your first word, and not even your first word, your first story. So don't open up your public speaking and come and see us for more training around public speaking. The challenge is don't say, hi, thank you for having me. Straight into a story. And this will get you over your fear straight away, because you're going to focus so much on the story you're about to tell. So someone will introduce you. Hi, this is, Anton Guinea, and he's here to talk about leadership and teams and how to develop strong, high-performing teams by working on leadership. And I'll jump straight up. And instead of saying, hey, thanks for having me, my first word will be, I worked for a crap leader, and I don't want you to have the same experience. And I don't want leaders to show up in a way that hurts other humans. That's just the way I'll start the talk. And when you're so focused on that particular narrative, those words, there's no place in your heart and your mind for fear. You're ready to go. Hope you enjoyed the video. My name's Anton Guinea. I hope that's helped you get over your fear of public speaking. And I can't wait to hear from you. Put some comments below, or reach out and get me online, and look forward to hearing your success stories as a public speaker. Speak soon.